Hello and welcome to Where Women Talk. I'm Nadia Giordana. My guest today is author Raven Eckman. I'm really excited to be talking to her today. She has a brand new book out. It's her first novel. It's new adult dark fantasy, and the title is Shadowspeak. Doesn't that sound exciting and intriguing? Let's go talk to Raven and find out more about this new book. Raven, welcome to the show.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here today.
This is going to be fun. I'm excited to learn all about you. You're an author. Have you been writing all of your life?
Actually, no. I used to hate reading and writing when I was a kid, and my grandmother challenged me to read a book a day before I became in high school. And after that, it just took off. Took creative writing classes, went to college with creative writing, and here I am.
And this book that we're talking about today. It's called Shadowspeak.
Yeah.
It's new adult dark fantasy. And this is your first novel, is that right?
That is correct. The bare bones of this, I started in college, my senior year, and kind of had it sitting off to the side, went through multiple drafts. I think I had 8 before I finally decided I was going to query it. And then from there, it still went through drafting and changes, but I'm pretty happy with what's coming out.
Oh, that's really exciting to put together a story that big, a full novel. I admire people who do that. I write, but I don't write big pieces like that. So I'm always so excited to hear about an author and how they pull it together, how they keep track of the story. Do you have a method, or are you still working on your method?
My method always seems to change because before I actually did a full length novel, I did some short stories, some poems, kind of dabbled in that. So I actually am a planner, so I like to have like the list and I kind of plot everything out. And Shadowspeak kind of took me in a whole different direction where I went from, okay, here's my plan, this is what I want into it. And at the very end result, I maybe had 3 of the things I really wanted into it, and everything else surprised me. So now I'm kind of with the sequel that I'm writing, it's whatever happens, happens.
I was going to ask, is there a sequel or is this a series?
Well, this one's originally, no, it was actually going to just be a standalone. And some of the Easter eggs, if you want to call it that are in the story formed a prequel story. And then depending on how everything goes, there might be a sequel that has one of the minor characters in Shadowspeak to have her own novel.
I like the idea of Easter eggs. Maybe you could explain that. Not everyone knows what that is.
Okay, so for example, I will mention the daggers. There's 2 ceremonial daggers that have red gems in the handles. And at first, they were just part of the story as kind of a prop, kind of thing like that. And then they kind of pop up throughout more and more throughout the story. And then at the very end with the epilogue that you see, it kind of ends with them. And you're wondering, but like, who's this other character? And why did that pop up? And why are they so important kind of thing? And that actually will be explained in the prequel.
And the readers, as they follow you, will be paying close attention to those pieces.
Yes, so the daggers are one, and then there's a character that kind of pops up that you're not sure the importance of, that they're there, but they're not there, and you're not sure why. And then again, maybe you'll make a connection, but the prequel will explain it too.
Oh, that is so exciting. You're an editor.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your editing life.
Okay. Well, when I was in college, I actually roomed with all of the science and math majors. So by default, it was kind of, oh, well, you're an English major. So, and I'm like, so can you look at my paper? Okay, I was waiting for that to happen. From there, I actually reconnected with a principal of mine when I was in grade school who opened his own publishing company and has his own books. And with him, I was helping him out. He knew I was an editor, had graduated from college. I wasn't sure what I was going to do with my life, kind of thing like that. I did projects with him, kind of made membership or lasting relationships with different authors that I came across. And in 2018, then I launched my own business.
That is great. And so you've been 18, so 2 years old?
I'm 2 years old. I was editing for a year before, and then other experience. I had some internships where I worked with a literary magazine and did fiction reading for their contest and different things like that. But solidifying editing was 2017, and then officially launched in 18.
I'm thinking that you shouldn't be hurt too badly with the pandemic because editing, the editor I use for my books, we correspond most of the time via email and online anyway. So you should be able to keep fairly busy editing, even though we have the
With the pandemic
environment. Sure.
Yeah, I actually I've gotten to work with people in London. I've gotten to work with somebody in Australia for a nonfiction book that she had approached me about that we did together then. And it's amazing like you can meet by being virtual. Pandemic wise, things were interesting. I was actually going to go full time and launch myself full time, but I kind of backtracked and we're just seeing how things go.
Okay, that sounds good. And you're affiliated, the Fox Pointe Publishing is your publisher.
Correct.
And tell me a little bit about that.
Actually, it's kind of funny. I met her or Kristen through Twitter. She shared one of my tweets and she had messaged me. So I actually sent an email and kind of introduced myself, sent my resume, and we got to talking that way. Joined the team. Had mentioned my stories, different things that I was working on, but just, again, wasn't quite sure where I was going with my own work. And when I finally was ready and I was going to send it out to the world and see what happens, we went with it. So I got signed on and launched the news, and now I think I have whiplash because I can't believe it's actually happening.
That's so exciting. That is terrific. Well, now, are you planning, do you write different types of books? Are you planning some other genres, or are you going to stay for the time being with the dark fantasy?
That's it. So I actually always wanted to go into a horror and do like kind of like a horror romance or just like a straight horror book. However, Shadowspeak has elements of it, but I really like that dark fantasy, and I prefer fantasy as a reader. I love reading fantasy of all, like high fantasy, modern fantasy, however you want to do it that way. I do have some children's books. I have two actually that we're looking at, seeing about maybe publishing, and it's basically about a little monster that just wants to be friends with people. So we'll see how that goes. But mostly I think for right now, I'm going to stay into the fantasy genre, whether it's contemporary or it's just kind of like a straight fantasy.
And in the books that you write, they're more for adults, not so much young adults or children. Is that right?
Well, originally Shadowspeak was pitched as a young adult because depending on what you see in the market nowadays, young adult actually does have some of the elements of Shadowspeak in terms of content warnings and maybe some graphicness and so forth like that. But because of the emerging new adult, we decided with also, again, more of elements and more things than I added in as I edited, that it was better fit for the new adult rather than like a younger audience as a just in case, depending on who would pick it up.
That sounds about right.
Hmm.
And I know this year is a little different, but maybe 2021 will be much better. Do you make author appearances, or are you planning to or hoping to get out to libraries, book groups, wherever you can make some personal appearances?
That was definitely the hope. I actually was pretty excited this year. BookCon and Book Expo in New York. I was all set to go. I finally bought like the expo ticket. I had talked myself out of it the last 2 years just because I had the time. Was like, well, you're a new business owner, maybe not. So I just went to con, which is more of the fan base kind of thing. I was set to go this year, and COVID happens, so it canceled. And I actually just found the news out that they're not planning on having one next year. So here's hoping though that I can get out this coming year and actually maybe come out of Minnesota since I'm located in PA and go from there.
Well, I hope you do get to Minnesota.
Yeah.
And do you have some advice for writers, young writers who might want to follow a similar path?
My definite advice is don't give it up. I made the mistake for myself of putting it aside for a few years and not like I thought about it, but I didn't actually work on it, which was both a blessing and a curse for me when I actually did get back to it because I wasn't comfortable as much as I should have been. Because if you keep at it, and I know for myself now lately, like writing every day, and even if you end up deleting it, just keep going with it versus being like, well, if I sit there a little bit. And truth be told, for myself, I actually can only work on one project at a time, even if I have other ideas. But maybe it helps to work on more than one project. And don't be mad at yourself if you have another project you have on the side that you focus on more. Just kind of what feels true, right with it.
How do you get your ideas?
It's a little bit of everything. So for Shadowspeak, it was kind of a Viking marathon with my grandmother that inspired some parts, as well as an interest in mythology and folklore, and just the whole Icelandic culture, and just listening to different songs that I've come across as I researched. Then for other things, it was somebody walking down the street and they just happened to say something. I was like, oh, I wonder what that would be. Or watch a lot of crime dramas and crime documentaries and like who done it kind of thing. And for me, it was always like, well, what if the person that they think is it, which ultimately they may or may not be, of course, the suspect at the very end. But what if not? Like, what if it like the blackmail, or what if it's that same person, but they had not the same role that you're thinking? You just it's kind of, I play the what if game. Like I'm always the devil's advocate. Like I have a character, I'm like set with it. She's gonna do this, he's gonna do that, and then something blows it all out of proportion.
Yeah, that's the way ideas come. That
Mhm.
really. Uh, with about a minute left,
Yes.
is there anything I haven't asked you that you'd like to talk about?
No, I mean, definite the whole keep writing, don't give up. Reach out to people too. Don't be afraid to kind of connect to people that you admire. When I first started both my business and then even later when I became an author or knew I was becoming an author, reach out for advice. Like if you really like something, that whether it's a brand, a logo, a picture, some kind of lighting, anything like that, talk to them about it. Like they might not be able to completely help you, and obviously make it your own, don't copy, but get advice, share, talk with people, kind of make your group, have your support group. That my poor editor Chelsea, when I like come up with an idea and want to change things, she's getting messages at all hours of the night, and then I'm anxiously waiting for her to respond to me. But I don't know where I'd be without her there, especially for edits that I've been trying to change, and she's like, no, just let it go, make peace.
That's so fantastic and good advice. Very, very true. Well, Raven, you've been just a delight. I'm so glad you
Yeah.
could be on the show today, and we'll be watching for you in the bookstores. And thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you next time on Where Women Talk with a brand new guest.
Bye everyone.